Less than 48 hours after the Director General George Entwistle resigned, other changes at the top of the BBC. The head of news, Helen Bowden, and her deputy, Steve Mitchell, are temporarily stepping aside. George Entwistle had been steering the BBC ship through the choppiest of waters. The organisation has been under fire after allegations emerged that the late presenter Jimmy Savile had abused children. Then a flagship news programme broadcast an item which led to a former minister being wrongly identified as a paedophile. Entwistle is not going empty-handed though. After just 54 days in the top job, he walks away with a payout of more than $700,000. Difficult to justify, say the British government. An acting Director General has now been put in place and says he's aware of the challenges ahead.
We've had big problems in the BBC. I've got my work cut out and I'm calmly going to get on and sort it out, is what I've got to do. And sorting out those journalism problems and getting through that, getting the right structure, you know where that will leave us? That will leave us in a place where we can focus on the bigger issue.
Morale among some staff is said to be low. After weeks of negative headlines, it's hardly surprising. Many within the BBC say this is the biggest crisis in its long history. This is an organisation which has built its reputation on trust. And the big question remains, just how deeply has that been damaged by the events of the past few weeks?
I think the enemies of the BBC are very quick to jump on the bandwagon and to call for the destruction of the BBC or the structural separation of the BBC or radical overhaul or whatever.
The British public funds the BBC, and ultimately it will be them who decide how it will be judged in the future. Emma Hayward, Al Jazeera, London.